Welcome, and thank you for standing by. Today's call is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. All participants are in a listen-only mode until the question and answer session of today's conference. At that time, you may press star one on your phone to ask a question. I would now like to turn the conference over to Amy Romero. You may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the TOR No Cost Extension webinar. My name is Amy Romero. Today we have the whole TOR team in attendance. LaTonya Brown and Olivia Klein-Thomas are the TOR Grants Management Specialists. William Longinetti, Lenny Simon, and myself are the TOR Government Project Officers. And Dr. Alex Thundercloud is the Director of the Office of Tribal Affairs and Policy. Today we will discuss the no-cost extension process and requirements for grantees that are ending year 2. The no-cost extension is an opportunity to request additional time to complete your objectives. LaTonya Brown will give you an overview of the no-cost extension process and all the required documents, including the budget and the narrative. We will also cover the submission process on ERA comments. We have invited Song Lee from the Partner Engagement Team, SAMHSA support for ERA, and he will do a live demonstration of how to initiate the process on ERA comments and how to submit your request. We will take questions after each presentation. You can also send us questions via chat. Without any further ado, I would like to turn it over to LaTonya Brown from Grants Management.
Hi, good afternoon. I am LaTonya Brown. I'm the TOR Grants Management Specialist, and I would like to thank you all for attending today's no-cost extension webinar. We here have provided a slide here for resources that you can use for guidance to submitting your no-cost extension request. Normally this slide is normally at the end of the presentation, but we have it here at the beginning. And pretty much this is valuable information for you. You see a link here to our website, www.samhsa.gov, and this gives you more guidance on what is needed to submit your no-cost extension, what is required for your no-cost extension. Then we have a link here to the video to submitting Postawards, which is a no-cost extension, and then a link to a reference sheet that gives you more information on submitting through ERA. Okay, this slide here is the no-cost extension overview, and I want to focus a little bit on the first bullet here, which is the reason a no-cost extension request is needed is to ensure completion of your original approved project and to allow additional time to complete and phase out your project. So just to give you a couple of examples of, what this entails and what this means. Completing and phasing out. So, for instance, Project A was started and was due to be completed by August. But because of COVID-19 pandemic, the project was put on hold. The grant funds were allocated, the project was approved, but the project had to be put on hold because of the pandemic situation. But this project needs to continue. So therefore, you would like to request a no-cost extension for say 4 months to complete this particular project. Another example of completing a project and phasing out a project is, for instance, MAT training was scheduled to happen, say, in May. But due to COVID-19, the training was put on hold. So basically, this training is necessary, and the training will not be given again until, say, September, which is the time that your grant will end. So therefore, you would like to submit a no-cost extension for 12 months so that the training is, taken and, you get through, this particular project and phasing out of this particular project. So this is just a couple of examples of what, submitting a no-cost extension is for, what type of projects that need to be completed or phased out. And to continue on down the slide, the next bullet pretty much is about 12 months, up to 12 months having a no-cost extension, which is you can request a no-cost extension up to 12 months, but you cannot exceed 12 months. So in the previous example, I was saying, 4 months to complete a project, 6 months. So it's not necessarily that you need to take the whole 12 months, but up to 12 months to complete a no-cost extension project. The next bullet is a no-cost extension must be submitted 60 days prior to your project end date. That deadline date for you is July 31st, 2020. The next bullet, there will be no additional funds awarded for no-cost extension, and there is no change of scope nor objective. So basically a no-cost extension again, and we're pretty much going to reiterate this throughout the slides, the presentation, is that it's basically to close out, phase out a project that was already approved, that was already allocated for, funds were already allocated for, and to just complete it. Nothing new, no new activities, no new travel, just completing out, and no additional funds will be given for no-cost extension. The next bullet, the purpose of a no-cost extension is to complete approved projects and not the purpose of expending those funds. So basically what that means is that when you do your cover letter, you're not going to say in that cover letter, we noticed that we have $50,000 left over in the budget. We would like to do a no-cost extension to expend those funds. Again, it's just to complete something that was already approved and in your original proposal that just needs to be closed out. And then you must submit your no-cost extension through ERA, and you must have an ERA Commons account to submit that no-cost extension request. The last bullet, if you do not submit a no-cost extension request by July 31st, 2020, your grant end date is September 29, 2020, and you should prepare for closeout. So if we do not receive a no-cost extension request from you all by July 31st, the assumption is that you're closing your grant out, and then you should proceed with closing your grant out. If you need information on closing out your grant, that information is in your notice of award, or you can go to the SAMHSA website and look for the closeout section under grant/closeout and get more information on closing out your grant. Or you can, of course, call your grant specialist, which is me. So required documents that are needed for submitting your closeout package is a cover letter, SF424 form, SF424 budget summary form, HHS checklist, budget justification narrative, and project narrative. And we just want to note here that all post-award amendments must be submitted through ERA, which I mentioned earlier, and you must have an ERA Commons account to submit your request. So to go over the cover letter, which is the first document in your package, the cover letter should be on organization letterhead. It should include the last date, it should include the date and the grant number. It should state the need for a no-cost extension and give an explanation of why the project goals were not completed during the award year. What happened and why? It should include the time needed for the no-cost extension and the remaining goals to be accomplished. The no-cost extension amount requested to complete the project, previously approved. The letter must be signed by the authorized official and the project director. And just to note that the project director and the authorized official are not the same people, and the cover letter and the project narrative are two different documents. Okay. SF424 form. So when you have submitted any post-award action, whether it's a carryover request, a key staff request, you have completed an SF424 form. So we just wanted to highlight a few things on the form for you to remember. On the form, you will see box number 2. Box number 2 would have new, continuation, and revision. For your no-cost extension package, you will check revision. And then to the right of that, you will either from the drop-down arrow select no-cost extension, or you will fill that in, no-cost extension. For box number 4, you will enter your Commons ID number, and that's for the project director. The project director listed on your no-cost extension must also be the project director listed on your HHS checklist, which is a part of this package. Box 5B is where you enter your federal award identifier. And you see here an example of what that looks like. It would be H79TI and your grant number. And I think the -01 would probably be -02 because you're in year 2. Box 18, enter your total federal funds requested for the no-cost extension, and that's the amount that you're going to use, that you're going to be requesting for your no-cost extension time frame. And then complete all other sections accordingly. SF424 Budget Summary Form. The SF424 Budget Summary Form is the budget information for your no-cost extension request. So basically, and I'm going to move down to the slide here, to the slide that shows an example of the budget summary form. You see here the column with the budget category breakdowns, personnel, travel, equipment. So whatever your needs are for your no-cost extension year, which are allowable, is what would go into the budget category. Now, when I go back up here, you'll see where it says budget categories, totals, equals section A, budget summary. That's pretty much saying that your total is to be carried over into this total column, and your total should match, your total case should match total in column 5. The second form here is not applicable because you do not have a match for TOR. The HHS checklist assures that you have obtained the proper signatures, assurances, and certifications, and that the project director and the business officials are completed on this form. And basically, it's to make sure that the project director and the authorizing official that's on your cover letter are, again, the same people that are on your checklist. Okay, the budget narrative justification here. So we have a link that I'm going to click into that is going to give you an example. Let's see if I can get into it, of the budget narrative, and I'm not able to click into it. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Here it is here. I see it now. Okay. So this is the format that you will use to complete your budget narrative. And again, you will see here personnel. So for instance, you are having your project director to oversee the no-cost extension year. You would put that person and any other staff that would be working on the no-cost extension in this section here. And throughout this document, wherever the needs are for completing this document, you would put in your budget narrative. Now, again, this is the no-cost extension year, so it probably won't be completely filled. Every section may not, every budget category may not be used. It's just basically what's needed for your no-cost extension year. At the end of this document, it's what's called a budget summary, and I'm not able to get to it right now, but I'm going to talk about that on the next slide. This is the format you use to complete your budget justification narrative, but in this sample, you will not use the budget summary. You would use the budget summary that I'm getting ready to go to in the next slide. Okay, so this is the budget summary that's going to replace the budget summary that's in that budget justification narrative. This budget summary is merely the breakdown of where those your no-cost extension funds will come from. So you know that you're in year 2, and you see your year 2 column here. You know that you had carryover funds that was carried over from year 1, and you know you was given a supplement amount. So basically, this is just where those funds are going to come from. Say, for instance, your project director, you're going to put $10,000 in the budget category for the no-cost extension for that project director. So you're showing that you did not use $5,000 in year 2, and you did not use maybe $5,000 in your carryover. So that total of $10,000 is what you're going to use for that project director salary for the no-cost extension year. So whatever your total is, which this total amount here is going to, and I'm going to go back to the SF424 form, that total that I talked about earlier, those two totals are going to be the same. This budget summary, is merely telling us that this is where the categories, the pots really, that those funds are coming from. I hope that you all understand that. And then the project narrative. The project narrative is a summary of amended version of the project that was already approved. So it's basically discussing in more detail the project that you are completing and that you are phasing out. And again, your cover letter is going to give us a brief description of what your project, that you're completing. But this project narrative is really going to give us more detail. It's going to let us know the strategies, your project goals, measurable objectives, explanation of the program status to date, and elaborate on how the extension will allow for completion of the originally approved project. Okay, and then I'm just going to suggest that you get some guidance and work with your project officer to make sure that you're going in the right direction as to what projects should be completed and phased out through the no-cost extension year. Okay, that was pretty fast. We're going to open up the line for questions, but I want to get down to the contact slide. And for you all, which is a cohort of 2018, I am your grants management specialist for your program. Olivia Klein-Thomas is cohort 2019. So if you have any questions regarding your no-cost extension, you will be contacting me. And then if you have programmatic questions or concerns, you would contact the program officers listed here on this slide here. So thank you so much for attending again, and we will open up the lines for questions.
Thank you, LaTanya. At this time, operator, we will take questions. You can also type questions on the chat.
Yes, and we had a few people ask if where we could find the slides, and we had emailed them yesterday in advance of the webinar to everyone on our tour project director list. If you didn't receive that, you can type your name here in the chat, and I can email you the slides directly, and we'll be sending them out again along with the recording of the webinar after the webinar.
And I'm not seeing any questions on my end if they're typing them in, so just so you all know.
Operator, do we have any questions at this time? Okay. Okay, I think at this time we don't see any questions. We will move forward with our next presentation, and we will have time for questions as well at the end. Our next presenter is Song Lee, and he will cover the ERA process.
Thanks so much, Amy. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Looks good. Okay, great. So my name is Song Lee. I'm with the partner engagement team. I help with SAMHSA support. And today I'm going to be walking you guys through the process of how to essentially access ERA Commons to initiate a post-award no-cost extension amendment, point out the various fields that are pre-populated, and point out the relevant forms. And thereafter, I'll also show you how to search for applications that have already been initiated. And thereafter, after I show you that, I'll show you how to save and submit the application package. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and log into the project director account. So the URL for ERA Commons is actually public.era.nih.gov/commons. Right now, the stage that you see here, this is a lower environment. So please keep that in mind. The actual URL, again, is public.era.nih.gov/commons. So once you access the Commons and you would log in, you would access the non-research tab. Then you would access Manage Post-Award Amendments. So once you're on this tab, if you scroll down, logging in as the project director, you're going to see a view where ultimately all of the grants that have already been awarded to you will be pre-populated, and accordingly you'll see the project start, project end, budget start, budget end, the relevant project title. And again, please keep in mind all of these are test grant applications, so it may not look exactly as a normal project title would, but accordingly thereafter you would find the relevant award number, grant family that you are attempting to initiate the no-cost extension on. Then you would click this drop-down menu here that says Initiate, scroll down, and then there's an option right here, No-Cost Extension. So when you click this, there's going to be a new window or a tab that opens depending on how your browser is configured, and it's going to take you directly into ERA Assist. So one of the items that LaTanya had pointed out regarding the SF424 cover, I just wanted to provide a quick clarification. When you go into the form, when you initiate the no-cost extension, the field that will be pre-populated for revisions, no-cost extensions, the PD credential, and the federal identifier. So these actually do not need to be entered. They will be pre-populated after you initiate the form through ERA Commons on the non-research tab. So just to point out, now that you're here, let me back up a little bit here. Towards the top, you'll see navigation tabs where ultimately you could access the relevant forms that need to be filled out to submit the no-cost extension request. You would accordingly then click Edit, enter the relevant budget information, and then you would scroll to the bottom. One thing to keep in mind, if you are working through the project director account and you press this button after you're done making your changes, you will lock the form essentially, and no other users will be access it, I believe, until it times out and then the form will be unlocked. So typically when you are making changes, if other people are going to be working on the application, you would always save and release lock as opposed to save and keep lock. So that's one point that I wanted to point out. And then, of course, I'm not going to make any changes, so we're just going to click Cancel. But again, the relevant tabs show the relevant information that has to be filled out accordingly. And you'll see here that some of the information, again, is pre-populated. Keep in mind this is test data, but accordingly you would click Edit on the relevant sections, make the changes, and then scroll down to the bottom and click the Save and Keep lock or Save and Release lock, depending on which option you prefer. But again, I'm not making any changes, so go ahead and cancel out. I believe, to the best of my understanding, all of the forms that are listed up on top are the required forms. However, if there are any additional forms that need to be added in after you initiate, you can click this button here, Add Optional Form. When you click this, it'll give you the option to add additional budget construction assurances, lobby disclosure, etc. And essentially, you would pick the relevant form, click Submit, and it will get added on accordingly as a new tab. Wanted to point that out. So let's see here. So one of the things, now that I've initiated the application, it's very important that this is a frequently asked question. where ultimately after it's been initiated, how do I access it again? So let me show you. When I click the, if I'm on any one of the forms, I would click this button right here to return to the application. That's going to take me to the summary page. On the summary page, right here in this box, there's a field called Application Identifier. It's a 5-digit unique identifier that links to your no-cost extension post-award amendment. It's very important that after you initiate, you would document this 5-digit number, so in turn, you could access it later on after the fact. If you were to go back into Commons and click Initiate and click this again, essentially what this does is this initiates a brand new application. As you can see, the number was previously 14635, now it's 14637. So it's a frequently occurring situation where they initiate a post-award no-cost extension, work it up, and then thereafter, as opposed to accessing the one that is in progress, they initiate a new one. So please keep that in mind. After you initiate, always document the application identifier to ensure that you can pull it up later on. So now that the application package has been essentially completed, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull up one that I've already prepared, search for it, and this is again the one that is ready. And you'll see here that currently when I'm logged into the project director account. In the project director account, you can see how submit application is grayed out. In order for you to submit, you actually need to be logged into the signing official account, the ERA Commons account with the SO role. That's the only way that you would have the ability for this submit action to be made available to you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to close this, log out of the project director account, and I'm actually going to switch into the signing official account. So now that you're in the signing official account, the screen again looks very similar as it would through a project director. However, the ability to see the non-research tab, sorry, it was not zoomed out, but you would click this non-research tab here, and same thing, you would click Manage Post-Award Amendments, and then for here, you can see that you have the ability to do a search either using the IC and serial number of the grant in question. You can also search by the PD last name, or if you just click search, you'll also see everything that's associated in terms of in progress applications that have already been awarded, and you would have the ability then to initiate new. So what I'm showing you right now, again, is through the signing official account, how to initiate a no-cost extension, because it can also be done here. But after we pull up Assist, sorry, just do something here real quick. Okay, so now that you're in Assist, you are trying to access the in-progress application, 14625, the one that I brought up earlier. So you would again log into the ERA Commons account for the signing official. You would click Assist, and a new tab or window will open, and then it will take you to this screen. So right away, you see Initiate Application or Search for Application. The option that you want to pick is Search. So you would click this Search. So on this screen, there are several things that I wanted to point out. You could either, again, search directly using the application identifier, and that'll pull it up. Or you would use this link right here, Search for Applications, to go back to the screen. Remove this. You can highlight Submission Status, Ready for Submission. So essentially, as a signing official, any application that has been prepared and is ready for submission, you can also query for those. And here you'll see there's actually 39 records. But if we search for the one that we initiated, it's the 14625. You can see it right here. So again, you can search using the toggle submission status, various options to either pick, or you can pick directly which one based off the unique application identifier. Now that we have the application up, search for it, we would select it here, So now that you see that we're in the signing official account, the submit application button that was once grayed out has now become made available. Prior for an application to becoming ready for submission, you would actually have to validate the application. But as part of the submitting the application, it runs the validations for you as well. So again, we're going to go ahead and click this submit. And it says, please confirm you want to submit this application to grants.gov. So you would click this submit button again. And from here, this is another frequently asked question that I wanted to help clarify. This is the actual grants.gov AOR credential that is used to submit the application, and it's not the ERA Commons signing official credential. So as you noted, Praiser 1 was the signing official credential for ERA Commons, but this is actually my AOR credential. So again, this is managed grants.gov. So if there's any issues with this credential not working or it's not allowing you to log in or the passwords, you would actually not contact the ERA service desk, but you would be contacting grants.gov for more assistance. So now that it's essentially entered, you would just click this enter here, and it's going to spin, and it's going to go through the process of submitting the application. So now that the application has been sent, you'll see a message here. Application has been sent to grants.gov. Email notification we send when the application is processed by grants.gov. Also, you may check the submission status feature and assist to get up-to-date status of the application. So again, this is a lower environment, so it won't be like production. It actually hasn't gone to grants.gov, but it mirrors essentially production environment in the sense that it's submitted. And when I click this, it gives me a very key information that is very important for you to document. This is the grants.gov tracking ID number. Essentially, this links to your submission, and you would then be able to verify later on in ERA Commons that it's been successfully received and submitted. Here. So now I'm going to go back in the Commons. So after the application has been processed by grants.gov, again, using the grants.gov tracking number right here, how to access and view it in Commons after it's been submitted. You would, again, log in either to the signing official account or to the project director account. Since I'm already logged in as the SO, I'll stay here. You would access the non-research tab, manage post-award amendments tab. And again, I'm just going to do a blank search because that's going to pull up all applications submitted that are for my organization. And then accordingly, I would locate the relevant award number. And when you click this view action, this is going to give you the ability to see post-award amendments. Granted, this is a carryover request, but if you look at the various different types, you can see key personnel, merger, and essentially yours would say no cost extension as the type. So this is how you would verify and see the status after it's been submitted, whether it's in review, whether it's awarded, and the corresponding M award number. And if there is a situation where they request additional materials, this is also in the action column here. You'll see a RAM link to prepare additional materials to be sent to SAMHSA in the fact that they need additional materials. But yeah, so this is more or less the process that I've walked you through, where you would initiate, you can access in-progress applications, and then after it's been submitted using the grants.gov AOR credential, you will log into the non-research managed post-award amendments tab and click view to view the relevant amendment that has already been submitted. So that's all about I have. I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Amy.
Okay. And this is Will Longinetti, also project officer on the TOR grant. Thank you, Song. That was very helpful. I know that was a whole lot of information in a short amount of time. And so, yeah, Song covered a lot of ground there. But we will be distributing a recording of this webinar, and also, as LaTanya included in the slides, there's a couple resources, pre-recorded YouTube videos and other walkthroughs, so we'll make sure you're familiar with the process. So we're going to open it up for questions again. I know we got quite a few in the chat box here, and so maybe we could start going through those. If you drop your email in the chat, we can email you the slides if you haven't received them already. We'll also be sending them out to our listserv. So Looks like we got a couple ERA-related questions here from Michelle Weaver. The business official listed in ERA Commons is our tribe's last chief. We now have a new chief. How do I change this to reflect in ERA Commons? So, Song, I don't know if either you or someone
I'm here.
else.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, Michelle, essentially the process that would occur is I believe SAMHSA has a specific form that can be filled out. What I'll do is I'll make a notation here and I'll make sure I follow up with you to send that. But essentially what you would be doing is submitting, first off, the new business official, they would have to create a signing official account in ERA Commons. And if the current signing official has already departed, then you would be submitting a request to create a new signing official account in the absence of the other signing official, because essentially one signing official can create an account for the other signing official. And then thereafter, after you create the signing official account, that user would then in turn submit a request to the service desk to ultimately update the BO from the old BO to the new BO, and that could be updated on all of the grants that are already associated. So any future correspondence that will be sent directly to the to your new business official, new signing official.
Okay. And Michelle, if you're unsure who to reach out to, you can reach out to your either your project officer or LaTanya Brown, and we can link you with the ERA help desk team who can provide you that those instructions in writing. And then Mira Baldwin's question, most of our carryover concerns training that needs to be accomplished but was postponed due to COVID-19. We obviously do not know how to estimate a timeline for reopening. Do you have any advice? And so, I mean, I would say you just need to, things are kind of restarting in fits and starts right now. It's uncertain, right? It's a time of uncertainty. So, and I think we are taking account of that as we review your no-cost extension request. So, I would say, just factor that in and err on the side of caution. I don't know, LaTanya, do you have other guidance as far as, if given that we're unsure about the timeline for reopening, how should grantees,
that would be more internal, So, I mean, I don't know what. I guess it's based on their organization, and as far as salary or things like that is concerned, you're just pretty much resuming. But I don't really know much more than it's more of an internal decision and situation.
Okay. So if a grantee is thinking they may need 6 months, but then things shut down again, should they maybe account for that by adding a little bit of time just in case things shut down again?
I actually don't have the answer to that. So I really don't know how to have them to proceed with that. I just think that as far as we're concerned, we're still teleworking and we're not back in the office, but we're still working. And so they're working from home supposedly. They're not really shut down, right? So they're just trying to figure out when to go back into the office and how to proceed from there.
Well, it's in case, if they want to have an in-person group event, a training, and they're unable, it turns out they aren't able to do that, and, if they request a 3-month no-cost extension and they're not able to do that in the next 3 months, I guess that's the dilemma. But
Okay. So basically, if I would just include it in as far as the no-cost extension. They really have up to 90 days after the grant ends to continue on with their grant anyway. I guess they're kind of in liquidation status, but you're going to go ahead and I was going to suggest also that they submit their no-cost extension request early as possible and not wait till the to July or, although this is June, we're getting close to it, but don't wait to the last minute to submit that. And I would include all of, whatever issues that they may see forthcoming in that. But it has to be reviewed. We'll have to decide, what would be allowable and what wouldn't, would not be allowable through that process. But, I just would say go ahead and what those forthcoming issues that they foresee, that would definitely, they can go ahead and include that in their request.
Okay. And then I know we're getting a lot of questions here, so I want to make sure we get through them. Grace, I think we just answered that question. The signing official for the tribe I work for is different from when originally awarded, and so I think Song has gone through that. And again, you can reach out to your project officer, and we'll direct you to the instructions on how to handle that.
I only see one question on my side, and it's regarding the hazard pay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You have that. Let's see, I have 17 questions that I see in the
Oh, okay, it's crazy. I only have one over here. But I was just going to say that the hazard pay was not included in the federal grant funds. That was more of an internal accounting situation. So if your organization paid hazard pay, that would be from your organization funds, not through the grant fund. We did not approve a hazard pay for COVID-19.
Okay. And I know we're taking questions in the Q&A box here. We are also, I don't know if the operator is online, if there are questions that people want to ask, aloud. We are taking questions now. Operator, the operator can hear me, but I'll continue in the meantime.
Don't mind continue reading them because I don't see them on this side. I have the chat up, but I only see that one question.
Okay. I just wanted to allow people the opportunity both to write in their questions and to speak their questions. So what else here? How do I find out who the signing official is in ERA Commons for my grant? I'm going to defer again to Song and his team.
Sure, let me just grab the ball here real quick. Amy, do you mind passing it to me? Thank you. Hello?
Let me see if I can. I don't know. I'm not able to do that.
Yeah, I tried pulling it from Amy, but either way, when you're logged into your ERA Commons account, oh, there we go. Okay, I got it now. Yeah, so when you're logged into your ERA Commons account, you would click this institutional profile, basic information, and according, there's a section here, signing official and PTO administrators. When you plus sign to expand, granted this is a big institution, but you can see all of the relevant signing officials that are associated to this organization. And I would assume for you as well, it would show the same.
Okay. Thank you. And again, if you need clarification on that, you can reach out to your project officer. And then, Grace had asked for a step-by-step summary of the ERA process. And so hopefully, with the recording of this webinar and the other video and instruction guide we have, we'll be able to get through the process. I do not, okay, and then Liz Lovejoy says, I do not have assist on mine. Is there a reason as to why I don't? And so Liz is not able to get to
I'm sorry, who is the person? I'm looking at the questions right now.
Liz Lovejoy. It might be that she might have asked me directly.
Oh, okay.
Hello, it's the conference operator. If you would like to ask a question on the phone, please press star 1, unmute your line, and speak your name clearly when prompted. Again, if you would like to ask a question on the phone, press star 1 and unmute your line.
So I took a quick look at Liz Lovejoy's account. I will send you an email directly. I don't want to take up everyone or give out your information per se in the webinar. So let me email you directly on that, and I'll follow up.
That would be very helpful.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up with Liz Lovejoy and Michelle Weaver. I'm going to be sending instructions. I documented both of those requests.
Okay, great.
And I want to also add, William, I'm not sure if I answered that previous question correctly or good or anything, but if they can email me that question directly, I could probably get more information for them.
Okay. And we're also now taking questions over the line here, so. Do we have any questions yet, operator?
There are currently no questions in queue.
Okay. Then the next question from Elaine Davidson. Is there any penalty if we ask for 12 months but complete our goals in a shorter amount of time? Well, I'll defer that to you, LaTanya.
Okay, no, there is no penalty. What will happen is that you would just manually close out your grant. So if you ask for 12 months and you complete your project phase out, say in 6 months, and you would like to close your grant out, then you would just close it out manually. And I will assist you with that. You can, I will work with you, and your project officer can work with you, and we can get you closed out. But there is no penalty, no.
Okay, great. And then Anna Horn asks, do you have to update your username and password if you haven't been on ERA Commons in the last 6 months?
Yeah, so I'll take over here. I'm actually going to be sending an email to you as well, Anna Horn, with regards to password reset instruction and guidance. I'll be sending that directly to your email. But just to answer the question, though, the passwords do expire, so if you haven't logged in, I believe within 90 days, the password accordingly would have to be reset on our main homepage using the username and the email address that's associated to your account in ERA Commons. A temporary password will be sent to you, and essentially the temporary password, I would recommend typing it in manually. Don't copy and paste, because sometimes you'll pick up a blank space, which in turn is recognized by our system as a character, and then you'll receive an error. So I would always recommend manually typing the temporary password that you receive.
Okay, and then I don't know if you could also reach out to Grace Johnson. She had also asked about changing the signing official. Okay, and then I want to be mindful of everyone's time, but so then Mira Baldwin asked, clarifying, okay, this is more to do with estimating when we can allow staff to travel to training and creating a timeline. Yeah, and I think, Mira, maybe you could reach out to either your project officer or LaTanya. We can go into more detail about that. And then Rita had asked a question about hazard pay, and I think LaTanya addressed that. Where will we be able to access the recorded training today? We will be emailing it out to our listserv of project directors. And then Bianca Reese asks, under the HHS checklist, which application type should we choose for the NCE? So LaTanya or Sung, I'm not sure.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, William. Can you repeat that question,
Sure.
please?
So when you're completing the HHS checklist, which application type should the grantee choose for the no-cost extension?
Okay, and I also see a question where they're asking where does the cover letter get attached? I think that's a similar. I'm thinking that's an ERA question.
Hey, Fernando, are you on the line? Can you address both of these questions?
Did we lose him?
I know we also have questions in the chat, but yeah, so.
Yeah, I have it. I'm going to copy and paste either way the entire chat accordingly, and whoever I will follow up with the relevant ERA questions.
This is Amy. I just wanted to cover some information. We do have a question about how to know who is the authorized representative. And I just wanted to cover what you see on your screen right now, that there is a final step on the application process, and you will need to contact grants.gov to request the authorized representative information. Okay, go ahead, William. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, let's see. And let me just, I think we may need to advance the slide one to show what Amy was talking about, because I think it's stuck on the question slide. Let's see. I think we should give the ball back to Amy. There, okay. And so, looking at
never mind. I was going to say that there's a question about the ERA presentation that he went too fast and they wanted a summary. But I guess if he's going to send out information to everyone, then they will get that information.
Right, and then Roy Pack had asked, can the extension be for 6 months or 12 months? And so
the extension is up to 12 months, so it can be 1 month. But keep in mind, again, that you have 90 days after September to finalize your grant. So even though it's closed in September, your grant ends in September, you do have a 90-day window to phase out as well. And then if you feel like you're going to go past that, then that's when you ask for no-cost extension. So it can be up to 4 months, it can be 6 months, but it cannot exceed 12 months. But if you don't think that you're going to be able to complete that project within that 90 days, you're not going to have the opportunity to come back and ask for a no-cost extension. So you have to really know that if you need it, go ahead and submit that application package.
okay, and so we are now.
And just to address the HHS checklist question, the type is pre-populated. There was one question, I believe, I forgot who it was from.
Okay, yes.
Nayam Giris, under the HHS checklist, which of the application type to choose? Yeah, that is pre-populated.
Okay, and then I don't know, while we've been answering the questions in the Q&A and chat, did we have any more questions come in through the operator?
There are still no questions on the phone. If you would like to ask a question on the phone, please press *1, unmute your line, and speak your name clearly when prompted. Again, if you would like to ask a question on the phone, press *1.
So I'm not sure if you asked this question, William, but I think it's from Mira Baldwin asking, clarifying about estimating when travel and training, I guess, can be allowed in creating a timeline. I'm not sure if you asked me that question or not. But travel and training is basically based on what was already proposed originally, but was not able to be carried out through, that project year. So if it was something that was already scheduled, a trip that was already scheduled, training that was already scheduled, and it was put on hold for whatever that explanation and justification is, then working with your project officer, and that's basically to determine, is that travel still necessary? Is that training necessary? Is it pertinent to, completing the grant? And then based on their review of, yes, we approve that, and, then we can go ahead and, allow that training or that travel. But it has to be something that was already allocated for, it was already proposed, it was already, scheduled originally. but it cannot be something new. You know, we decided that, you know what, before our grant ends, we think we need to take training in this particular thing. It wasn't originally budgeted, but can we do this? Not in the no-cost extension year. So you pretty much probably missed the opportunity for that. Again, it's just to phase out and complete projects and goals and objectives that were already proposed in your original application award.
Okay, thank you. And then we had another question from Rachel Rusima. Are grant funds allowed to be spent during the 90 days after the grant ends? And Olivia Klein Thomas, our other grants management specialist, provided the answer. Hi, Rachel. Yes, you have 90 days after the end of the budget or project period to draw down funds for items that were approved in your grant. So you are able to draw down funds in that 90-day period after the end of the grant. And we're now past, we're at 4:03 Eastern time, so just again wanting to be mindful of everyone else's time. Do we have any other questions, either on the line or in the chat box?
Excuse me, we have one question in queue coming from Juanita Ball. Your line is now open.
Good afternoon. I was just wondering if this is going to all be sent out in a note. Will these comments and all of this information be sent out to us, like Jeffrey sent out the last one, Jeffrey Lidolter?
Yes, this is Amy. Yes, so we will be sending the PowerPoint. You will have the recording of this PowerPoint, and we will also send the SAMHSA website that actually was presented by LaTonya Brown at the very beginning, where you could find all of the information on how to submit your no-cost extension.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, I think at this time we don't have any additional questions. If you have any questions, please contact your government project officer or LaTonya Brown, Grants Management Specialist. If your questions are regarding your ERA submission, on your screen you see the ERA Service Desk contact information. They can provide technical assistance when you submit your request. Okay, well, I hope this was helpful. We will continue to work with each program to ensure that you have a successful submission and that you can continue your program and meet all of your goals and objectives. Have a good afternoon, and this concludes the webinar for today.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you for your participation in today's conference. You may disconnect at this time.